happens. Would you believe me if I were to tell you that new construction is more affordable than buying resale? Let me share why. For years, resale has always been the better deal, but now in 2025, the script has flipped and new builds are now competing head to head.
And it's not just purchase price. Builders are offering crazy incentives to lure new buyers into the door.
And in Florida markets, you're seeing crazy cash incentives where builders are throwing in 50 to 100K off in pricing, huge incentives with buy down rates where you can get a new build more affordable than resale.
Would you rather have a new construction home with 50K in perks or a resale home with a little bit more character? Drop new or resale in the comment section so we can see where everyone's at.
Chase brings nearly a decade of real estate experience with working with one of Orlando's top producing teams to now on the title side, working with agents and buyers navigate the title side of things. And for the first time in years, and maybe for the first time ever, new construction home sales are more affordable than resale.
Yes, you heard that right. For the first time in a long time, maybe ever, new construction is in fact more affordable than resale homes. And it's not just the purchase price. Builders are actually throwing in tens of thousands of dollars on top of a discounted purchase price in incentives to make sure your buyers are getting a great deal.
So what does that mean for buyers, and how can agents use this shift for their advantage? That's what we're unpacking today.
Super excited to be talking about this topic today. Why do you think new construction has dipped below resale value in 2025?
Why has this happened? Well, I think it's important to kind of explain how we got here, and let's go back to 2020 and COVID and what's occurring back then with where the interest rates were and pricing and demand were at. And now we're in a unique place post that time where inventory has finally increased, demand has kind of cooled down because the interest rates are a lot higher than where we were back in 2022, 2023. And because of that, pricing for builders have kind of flattened in the last couple of years, where they are focusing on increasing the inventory. And now that the inventory's here, well, how are we gonna get these buyers to get that inventory off of our plate? And they're giving us these huge incentives to entice buyers in the market to come and purchase them. So I think it's important to understand that why pricing has dipped the way it has. That margin between resale and new construction has narrowed. In the past year, it's gone down to a 7.8 premium price. And because of that, it allows these incentives to exist and for buyer pool to go in there and purchase. So once we kind of understand that, and with the demand, supply and demand 101, more product, less demand, let's incentivize for people to come in and buy these homes.
Okay, and it's the first time we talked about it in a long time, maybe ever. How long can this really continue, or what are the variables that will allow it to continue or flip the switch again where resale is more affordable than new construction?
Again, supply and demand 101. Right now, with interest rates the way they are and the incentives that we're seeing with buyers, if interest rates were to drop, you're going to see an influx of buyers into the market. And when there's a lesser demand of choice or available homes, that is also going to increase pricing. So right now we're foreseeing that for 2025, we're going to continue to see these huge incentives, but it can't last forever. So if you're on the fence and you're on the market, take advantage of the situation that you have now, because these incentives can't last forever. And once more buyers enter the market, you're going to start seeing an uptick in price.
And as far as incentives go, what are some of the trends or incentives that you're seeing buyers gravitate to and that new construction is offering more than what you've seen in the past?
I think the name of the game is affordability, and at the end of the day, buyers want to be comfortable on what their monthly payment is going to look like. So the trend that we're seeing across the Central Florida market, especially in Tampa, the builders are really incentivizing our buyers and having them buy down their rates. So you can either have, there's two types that you're kind of seeing across the board, where they're buying the rate permanently for them, where you're seeing these great pricing and they're probably locking in anywhere between a 3.99 to a 4.99 rate, or they're doing a combine where they do a 2 one buy down rate. And what that means is that they are buying down the rate for the first 2 years. And then the following year after those 2 years, it goes up a little bit. And then from the third year, it'll just be the normal rate that they locked in. So it makes it more affordable for them to get in, and then they can choose to either keep the prevailing rate once it adjusts, or they can refinance when the rates come down.
And I'm so happy you touched on that part, is I think a lot of people get lost in the 2-1 buy down of, okay, my rate drops 2 points the first year, my rate drops 1 point the second year, but then I'm stuck with a 7% interest rate in the third year, when the reality is rates could look totally different at that point. You may be able to refinance into a 5% interest rate. And so it could be a phenomenal deal for a buyer who's using that incentive to make it more affordable for them.
Get in the home, test drive it, see how it goes. And I'm sure that the rates will they're projected to. We don't know how aggressive, but it gives them an option to get in right away at an affordable rate.
So I see a lot of people online talking about 2006, 2008, it's 2012 again. What can buyers understand from a shift that's going on in this market compared to maybe past shifts?
I think when you categorize it like that, when everybody's comparing to when the market was crashing or when the market was booming, typically you have this conception that new construction is more expensive. So I think straight off the bat, don't believe that. New construction can definitely be more affordable, especially in the market that we're in now. So understanding that it could be more affordable. Builders are offering all these amazing incentives with cash to close, where most buyers are now coming in and only having to cover their down payment, and they're getting all of their cash to close paid for, again with the incentives with the buy down rates that they're getting as well, and in some cases even money towards upgrades depending on the builder. So I think it's understanding that conception, where it was true in those markets in the past, now new builds are definitely more affordable, more aggressively priced, and more competitive.
I've seen a situation before when you talk about incentives where I had a VA buyer who purchased new construction, and he actually received a check at closing because it was no money down, closing costs covered, and he got like $5,000 in flex cash incentives. Didn't use it, so they wrote him a check at closing, which I think is insane. It's something that a lot of VA buyers should be looking at as far as new construction goes.
No, absolutely. Especially when they're covering all of their closing costs, and all they have to come in is with the down payment. With our veterans, thank you guys for your service. This is definitely a benefit that you should leverage and use. Getting paid when you close and buy a house, that's freaking awesome.
It's the dream.
Absolutely.
So Tamily, what are you seeing are the most common incentives that builders are offering?
I think the most common right now is definitely cash to close is definitely a big one, where we're seeing on average anywhere between $20,000 towards closing costs. We're seeing flex cash incentives where we've seen up to $100,000 that they can put into structural upgrades. If you want to get an upgraded tile or anything like that, that's where that money can play a huge role in. And we're also seeing the buy down rates, where you can lock in a super low rate and lower your monthly payment.
You just had one of your agents in here, Chris, who had his first deal, which was a new construction deal. And he was talking about his client and how his client came to him and was like, hey, I don't have that much money to be able to purchase. But because of those incentives, like covering closing costs, he was looking to purchase 6 months down the line. But because of the incentives like closing costs and things like that, he was able to purchase today. So that is huge.
Yep, and that's exactly true. So if you feel that you don't know what the path to home ownership looks like, having these conversations and reaching out to us so that we can explain the incentives that are out there, especially with the relationships that we have with our builders, is key. There's offers out there that you could take advantage and leverage so that you can do exactly that. Bump up your line. I want to look 6 months from now, but it's more affordable now. Let me not wait. Let me use those incentives and get into a new home today.
Sweet. So all over social media, builders are advertising something called a 2-1 rate buy down. A lot of us on the other side don't exactly know what that means. So can you educate us on what exactly a 2-1 buy down is and how it benefits buyers?
So it's important to really understand what buying down the rate means. So basically what it means that sometimes the builder or the seller or even sometimes the buyer can pay up front and buy down points to their rate to make it more affordable, and they're gonna see that in their monthly payment. So the 2-1, it means basically that they're buying down points so that their first year, they're 2 points lower than what their prevailing rate would have been. And then the second year is 1 point lower than what that rate would have been. And then it resets totally after that first 2 years. So it makes it really affordable for them to get into a new home with a much better rate and monthly payment, and then they can reevaluate if they are earning more money or if they can qualify to refinance, and then they can lock in an even lower rate if the market were to change and rates were to come down.
In today's market, with interest rates being in the 7s, what do you feel like is the best incentive you've seen builders offer from a buyer's perspective?
I think it's a combination of flex cash and rate buy down. So when you're receiving an excess amount of money, it reduces your out of payment costs. So you're keeping more money in your pocket. Example, paying for all of your closing costs. You get to keep that money and do home improvements, buy those new appliances that you want. You want to fence the yard, all of that. You get to keep some of that personal money in when they're giving you that flex cash and closing cost incentives. And then of course, the rate buy down, like who doesn't want to pay a couple $100s more on their monthly payment, competing with those 7 and 6.5 interest rates.
Right. No, and it makes sense. And I think a lot of people may be watching this and maybe thinking like, well, this has to be too good to be true. Why would builders do this? Well, I think a big reason why they do this that gets lost is because builders also want control. So when you go to a builder as a buyer, as an agent, they have in-house title, they have in-house lenders. And so to be able to get those incentives, you do have to work with their in-house partners. So I just want to make that clear to people who may be wondering, hey, is this too good to be true? Why are they offering that? It's because they are making money off the lending side, off the title side, regardless.
And that is important to note, but you as a buyer always have choice. If you want to take advantage and leverage these amazing incentives, it's important to understand that it may be tied down to using the in-house lender, the in-house title company, and so forth. But with working with us, we can definitely help you navigate. And there are builders out there that you don't have to use their in-house lender, and you can still take advantage of some of the incentives that they are sharing. So if you want to know what builders those are, and if you want full control from your start to finish looking, give us a shout so that we can point you to the right direction.
And I think that is an amazing point too, because I think a lot of buyers and a lot of agents think this way, that new construction is set in stone, the price is set in stone, the incentives are set in stone. As somebody who has worked for a builder, I can tell you it is negotiable. So it's so important to partner with an amazing group, amazing realtor, because they will fight for you. And it may be a 15K incentives, but if you pick the right agent, it's a 20 to 25K incentive. So
our new fridge.
Exactly. So a lot of those things matter too. It's 30% of buyers who go to new construction go unrepresented, and they are missing out on $5, $10, $15, $20,000 sometimes for just not having representation, which is insane.
Absolutely. And again, those builder relationships that we have as a team, we sometimes know about incentives before they even are public. So again, you need to be in the know, you need to know who you're working with and who you want to go to bat for you so that you can take advantage of everything that's out there for you. If you're curious about what incentives are available to you in the Tampa Bay area, DM me the word new and I will get a list to you so that you can see what's available. All right, Chase, you're in the hot seat now. I have a couple questions for you.
I'm excited.
All right, cool. So why are builder relationships so important to agents?
Yeah, I think builder relationships are super important. I think all relationships, lender relationships, title relationships, other realtor relationships are super important, but specifically builder relationships, to understand why they're important, I think we need to backtrack to the typical agent. The typical agent is speaking with a buyer, they're talking about it, and they're putting them on an MLS search and just kind of letting them be, which is limiting the amount of options they have. Hey, these are the resale properties that are available, and that's it. Whereas if you have builder relationships, you know about properties, sometimes that aren't even on the MLS. And a lot of these builders will post a property that's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, but if you go to the builder, they can convert it into a 5-3. And also they'll just put a purchase price, but they won't put the incentives they're offering if they're offering a 2-1 buy down. So having that in your back pocket just creates more value for you as a buyer's agent to go to bat for your buyer and give them more options and look like the hero at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I think at the end of the day, it's all about the experience that you're offering to your client, and you just can't put them on an automated search and expect that to do your job.
100%.
I think that's, that's going to prolong. You need to be in the driver's seat. You need to be providing the information and having these relationships and having these insider info to share with your client. Not only one, is it going to be a better experience for them, but you're really going to narrow down what they're looking for and realize what their objective is.
In terms of pipeline too, I think new builds allow you to of your pipeline. You may have somebody who's looking to purchase in 6 months, 9 months, and maybe you're showing them properties now, or maybe you're worried that your follow-up game isn't good enough to stay on top of them for 6 months or 9 months. But when you show them new construction, you can get them into a to-be built, and now they're under contract, and now you have a closing date set. And so I think those builder relationships not only help as far as providing your buyer more options, but you as an agent to cut the timeline in half sometimes.
Absolutely. All right, Chase. So what should newer agents do when they're visiting these communities for the first time?
Number one, get your video device out, whether that's your phone, your camera, your gimbal, and record these tours. A lot of times these buyers will see the new construction pop up online, and what is it? It's usually like an AI rendering or a sketch. But if you have the model tour, you can send that to them. And also for marketing purposes, a lot of these floor plans are the same and they stay the same. Once they find something that works, they want to keep it, right? And so a buyer may see a property in a specific neighborhood, but they don't have a model for it. But you've done a tour over in another community that offers the same model. Now you're able to provide that value. So I think recording it and having that saved somewhere and also marketing it is huge, because you're able to attract buyers. There's an agent we work with over in Central Florida, and she's built her whole business off of doing Instagram and TikTok videos of new construction properties. So I think recording it, number one, is the biggest thing. And then step two would be make that relationship with the builder and understand those incentives. What I find is super valuable along with the video is knowledge of giving somebody a tagline of, hey, I know this builder who's offering $75,000 in flex cash. Even if that buyer that hits you up or DMs you, that $75K doesn't apply to them, you still added value and you can take them to a resale or another new construction. So I think recording it, marketing it, and making those relationships goes a long way.
I love that, because it ties into, again, about the client experience and where you're taking them to. And, you need visibility, one. So you being a newer agent, how can you get in front of more people? And social media is it. Like, do those video tours, showcase what communities are growing and popping up in the areas that you serve. Establish those relationships with the builder reps so that when activities or incentives or new communities pop out that are not known yet, you're the go-to person to provide that information.
Positioning yourself as the market expert in that area. I think a lot of resale communities, let's say they were where I live, my community was built in the early 2000s. And so there's been enough time for somebody to establish themselves as the go-to agent in that area. Whereas if it's a new build, it's free game. You can become the market expert in that area, which isn't something that a lot of people have access to. So if you're around a new build, you have a real opportunity as an agent to farm and grow your business quickly.
Absolutely. I love that. And don't be afraid if somebody's already established in an existing neighborhood, there's ways for you to become a dominant agent in that area too.
As somebody who's been practicing real estate for over 15 years, I'm sure you have a story where a builder came in and saved the day because of the relationship you had with them. Can you share one?
The importance of relationships, right? I think you definitely honed in on that. And a story that I can share from having so many lasting relationships since I've been in the industry, it's really about cultivating that, being a go-to person for not just on the build side, but on the receiving end. I had a rep call me that they had a buyer in their office, and unfortunately the community and the price point that they were offering there was not a suitable match for them. And again, this is somebody unrepresented. They could have just easily turned them away, and they ended up calling me and saying like, hey, we have somebody here that is looking to buy a new home. Unfortunately, we're not a good fit for them, but I think you would be awesome to help them navigate and find them a home. So we did exactly that. I mean, from that relationship, they called me, they trusted me to refer this client that came unrepresented, and now we were able to work with them, put them into a new home. They actually just sold that house
Nice.
2 months ago because they got engaged and married, but that's from that relationship. So
Piggybacking off those relationships, what happens a lot of times is if someone is going to buy a new construction property, I don't know, Roy, you're gonna have to look at the statistics, but there's probably a good chance they own their current home too. And what happens is they're ready to buy, but they have no resource to sell. And so those builder relationships are amazing, not only representing them on the buyer side, but if you've got a good builder relationship and a buyer walks through the door and wants to buy, but it's contingent upon the sale of their house, that sales rep is gonna pick up the phone and call somebody.
And that's a great example.
And who should that person be? It should be you.
No, absolutely. And it happens more often than you think. And that's why it's so important to really make these relationships, because of exactly that reason. It happens all the time when buyers are looking to either upgrade their life, they want a new house, they need to buy something bigger, they have a home to sell, or the flip, they want to downsize and they're going to build something new. They need somebody to represent them on that sale side, and they often call the agents that are always participating. They're bringing in business, they're present, they bring clients, they showcase their property, and they're going to give you a call because of that.
Perfect.
So what's one thing agents sometimes can overlook when they don't build these relationships?
Yeah, building relationships with builders is kind of funny to say. But I would say one thing that they overlook is the power of those builders and how they can be a lead generation funnel for them. Specifically, when people go to buy new construction, I don't know the statistics, but a good amount of them have to sell their current home in order to buy that home. And so the sales rep for the builder, in order to get that deal done, is going to pick up the phone and call somebody to get that home sold. Who are they going to call? Typically the person they have the best relationship with, which is why it is so important to be consistent, showcase their models, bring them business, because it'll actually reciprocate. So I think that's the most overlooked thing, is not understanding the true power that those sales reps have.
Yeah, absolutely. It could definitely be a lead generation tool because, again, we'll look up that statistic, but often than not, they have a home to sell. You're seeing deals close every day. What should agents look for in today's market?
I think agents, or something that we've been seeing on the back end more often, is buyers electing to pick title just because they want control of the experience at the end of the day. They want to pick their lender, but also pick the company who's going to be handling that transition of ownership.
Awesome. I love that. And when you say that, like, they want to be in control, again, tying into relationships, when you're working with an agent, they do have these ancillary relationships with lending, with title, and sometimes they know each other. They know what's going to work, what's going to be more competitive, and being in control can be like some peace of mind for that buyer and for enhancement of that client experience.
Yeah, it's all about the experience, right? Like, I always think of it like a restaurant experience where, like, you could have an absolutely amazing waiter. This waiter is asking you about food allergies, is giving you the drink before you can even finish telling them what it is that you want. But there's a certain point where that waiter has to go back and give that ticket to the cook. And if the cook messes up your meal, that waiter is not getting a good tip. And that's an analogy for real estate. You as an agent may be doing everything right, and your lender may be amazing. But if title gives bad communication, they don't remember, oh, it was just title. it's all under one umbrella of the experience like you talked about. So that's why I think a lot of people are doing it.
Yep, definitely. I love that analogy. So can you share with us what would be the upside for a buyer choosing the title company that transitions their home?
Yeah, well, it's all control, but the reason why they would make the decision to pick title is the market we're in. Buyers now have leverage. The average $400,000 home that is being listed in today's market is selling for $12,000 less. So you have room to negotiate, and some people would rather negotiate a couple $1,000s with the title premium than $2,000 off of the purchase price, which would maybe affect their payment by $10, $15, $20 at the end of the day. They'd rather have that good experience. And in today's market, even as a buyer, even if you do elect to check off the box on the contract that says you are covering the seller's title costs, you can still write in the additional terms at the contract that you want a certain amount to be credited back, which would essentially cover the difference or kind of break even, so you're not actually spending that money at the end of the day.
No, I love that and that perspective, and it highlights also not to the relationship, but the importance of working with somebody that really knows how to negotiate those little fine details.
Yeah, and in today's market, right, if I am a listing agent and my property has been sitting on the market for 60 to 70 days and I get a qualified offer, finally I get an offer, right, and this offer has a $3,000 credited back to the buyers, am I really going to advise my seller to walk away over $3,000 knowing we may not get another offer on that property for another 30, 60, 90 days? So that's what I think about too.
No, that's a very good point. I love it.
They are going to be doing a lot of looking at that purchase agreement simply because a lot of these purchase agreements are 30, 40, 50 pages, and some of them have some hidden fees inside them. I'll give you an example for a builder that I worked with. They are a publicly traded company. So because they are a publicly traded company, they're responsible for giving quarterly earning reports, end of year reports. And what they would do is if they had a certificate of occupancy, they would essentially give a 10-day notice to the buyer saying, hey, we know your home isn't fully finished, but we have this certificate of occupancy. The home is habitable. We're gonna ask you to close on this property in 10 days, even though the house isn't ready. And as you can imagine, most buyers saw that and say, okay, well, let me fight back. I'm not gonna close. I'm not gonna do this. Well, in that purchase agreement you signed on page 36,
line 27.
Exactly. In the smallest print possible, every day you elected to delay that closing day was a $300 fee. And God forbid it went from 1 month to another month, not only were you responsible for a $300 fee at closing, but if it went from 1 month to another month, you were responsible for paying a 1% fee of the purchase price. So let's say it was 3 days in October and now it's in November, you're $900 in the hole on top of, let's say your house is $400,000. You're out of pocket $4,900, all because you didn't want to close because your house wasn't completed. So beware. I would say maybe hire an attorney, but that can be costly. So I'm sure there's other ways to actually look through it and really find out some of those fees.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's super important that you say that because these contracts can be overwhelming. And again, some buyers do go unrepresented and they sometimes, don't want to really look through it and are trusting the sellers, the buyer, the builder's rep to highlight this. But at the end of the day, the rep works for the builder. Their interest lies with the builder. So one, super important, don't go at it alone. Definitely always find a realtor that can go to bat for you and really, give you some expertise and some guidance on this. One of the things that we do as a team is we take these contracts and we upload them up to ChatGPT and we have it pretty much just do a summary of what's the context of the contract, but also ask it to highlight some risk factors or something that doesn't benefit the buyer so that one, they understand what they're signing and that they're okay with signing that. Highlight it for them because you don't want them to be blindsided if that's the case, that they don't want to accept the property as is and they can't close and want to delay it, that they know that it's their right to do so, but they need to know that ahead of time and agree to it and knowing what they're agreeing to.
I love it.
All right, so we are going to talk about tech now.
Okay.
So we're all about how can we enhance the client experience, but not only that, how can you enhance the agent? How can you equip yourself with some really awesome tech and make the client experience better? So what tech stack does the Citrus Closing Group provide agents when they work with them?
Great question. We actually have a tool called Citrus Farms where essentially we can help you as an agent farm different communities. So let's say you're doing an open house A. In that community, I can pull up data of those sellers, their phone numbers, their emails, if they have high equity, if they're absentee owners, so on and so forth. And we can use that data for you to be able to farm. You can drop off a quick CMA at their house. You can add them to their email list, or you can just pick up the phone and call them. So that's something that we offer for agents. And as far as the client experience, if your title company is not using Qualia, they need to be using Qualia. Qualia makes the transaction seamless, and it's a portal that gives everybody transparency as to what is going on in the process. So a buyer can see, buyer's agent, listing agent, lender, everybody can see where the file is at, what needs to be ordered, how close are we to closing, so on and so forth. And more than anything, I don't know if anybody's had this issue, but with wiring instructions where you're waiting 2-3 days to get wiring instructions, Qualia allows it to send as soon as it receives a contract. So no more waiting on wire instructions, making that experience very seamless and transparent.
I love that, because in real time, you are pretty much setting the expectation on what the experience is going to look like in each stage and phase, from contract received to funding. So I love it. Can you share how does that change the client experience?
Sure, it definitely makes the experience more transparent, where everybody has eyes on the actual transaction and where it's at. It keeps everybody in the loop. The thing I love about it is, as a business development rep, you may be working with a closer on our team, but let's say for whatever reason that closer isn't answering. You can pick up the phone and call me, and I can give you an update on that file, because it's a shared portal with everybody involved, which I think makes the transaction very seamless.
Awesome, I love it. Just a quick phone call, or you can just pull up the app and see exactly where you're at and where you need to be.
And our closers do answer the phone, I will say that, but this is just an emergency.
They were on the other line, and they will call you right back. All right, with the technology that's available to everybody out there, and to make our jobs easier, what is one piece of tech that every agent should have?
Yeah, I think the easy and safe answer is mastering AI. And whether it's simple things like ChatGPT, I know real estate agents, we go through a lot. Sometimes you just need somebody to talk to. Sometimes you just need a therapist, and that can increase your business. So talking to the chat bot on ChatGPT or Copilot or any of those, I think goes a long way. Plus, it's a great way to share ideas and get clarity. If you don't know what you should be doing that day, you can type into ChatGPT, I'm a realtor in this market, what are some things that I should be doing today? Or what are some good farming strategies? It just gives you all the information to succeed. Now it's your responsibility to go and execute.
I love that. And I mean, I use ChatGPT every single day.
Me too.
I mean, it helps me with just get my ideas in a more concise and effective manner. So I 100% recommend that everyone should be using AI.
With all this talk of crazy incentives, what Florida communities are offering the strongest incentives right now?
Right now, what we're seeing across Central Florida between Polk County and the Tampa Bay area is builders are offering and slashing prices for up to almost $100K, not only in price, but also in cash to close funds.
Out of those incentives you've seen, is there any crazy ones that you've seen that you're like, I can't believe that builder is offering that incentive?
No, absolutely. We just got word that one of our local builders is actually pretty much giving you money towards airfare. So if you're relocating from a different state and you visit this community and you buy and close with this builder, they're going to refund you the airfare up to a certain amount just for buying a home with them.
So if you know you're going to close with that specific builder, do not fly Frontier, do not fly Spirit. Definitely go Southwest, Delta, so that way you get credited on the way back.
Absolutely. Come business class, get some champagne, because you'll definitely get your refund for that airfare. We also have another builder locally that is offering for you to stay at their community in one of their, they actually have 3 homes that you can choose to stay at, and you basically are touring the community, you're looking at all of their models, you're looking at their amenities, enjoying their amenities, their restaurants and everything like that. So there's definitely a lot of really great incentives, not just pricing and cash money, like tons of different things. So if you want a list of the communities that are offering all these crazy incentives, especially the buy down rates, comment below new or DM us new so that we can get this list to you right away. All right, awesome. Thank you so much for coming on board today and sharing your knowledge with us. Can you share with our viewers how they can connect with you?
Yeah, thank you for having me on. This has been super fun. You can find me on social media, specifically Instagram at Chase Greene, green like the color with an E at the end. And then also the company is Citrus Closing Group. You'll find that in my bio, and a lot of the videos we do are interconnected with each other. So if you see me, you see Citrus. If you see Citrus, you typically see me. So I'd love to stay connected.
Awesome, I love that. Thank you guys so much for staying tuned and watching till the very end. You guys are champs for watching till the very end. So please continue to follow us, subscribe, and please share this with somebody that you think will find value.